and welcome to the Reading and Writing Life. I am Amanda, and this is a weekly wrap-up. First, I'm going to start with announcements. I really only have one. I am going out of town again this week. This is the last trip of the year. We're going back up to South Dakota, which is where we used to live before we moved to Texas, and we're just going to go see some of our friends for a few days. So next Friday will probably not be a check-in, a weekly wrap-up or whatever, just because we're getting back Thursday, and I just don't think I can make that happen that quickly. I mean, maybe I can do it, but I also have to finish stuff for my job when I get back, and since nobody's paying me to do these videos, but somebody is paying me to do those videos, I will be working on that. So anyway, also, I started a new volunteer position at a thrift store here in my area, and my first day there, of course, I spent money and bought books. So I'm going to show you. I only got 2 books because I thought every time I go, there should be new books there because I only work once a week. So they get new inventory in. I could look through the books every time. So I got The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. I've never heard of her, and I've never heard of this, but first of all, if you put library in the title, I'm probably going to buy the book. And it says, the first line of the back, I don't read the synopsis generally, and I didn't read past this. Irene is a professional spy for the Mysterious Library, a shadowy organization that collects important works of fiction from all the different realities. Yes, please. So, I got this. I'm putting it on my list. I'm putting it on the shelf. You can already tell the shelf is becoming crowded again. So, I do have a little bookshelf up here, which you can't see, but I think I'm going to start putting books up there just because I can't keep stacking them 2 layers thick in my bookshelf. Okay, the other book that I got is Divergent by Veronica Roth. I honestly don't know anything about this book except that I heard that this series was good. I honestly don't even know what genre this is. When I looked at it, I thought maybe it was fantasy, and then I looked at the back. This looks like the cover of a romance novel. So I may have accidentally picked up some kind of fantasy romance. Not that I'm against that. Oh, right here. It says dystopian thrillers. I love a dystopian book. So maybe I will like this one. I picked it up. It was 50 cents. So if I don't, then I don't. Okay, that's all the announcements. Let's talk about new subscribers. I only have one who has theirs public, and it is Locke's Library. So thank you very much for subscribing, and thank you to everyone else who has subscribed. I am really enjoying this channel. Let's talk about books I finished. I finished 7 books, but 3 of them were graphic novels. So let's just get into it. Fantasy. Oh wait, let me scoot over. Okay, for the fantasy books that I read Stormfront by Jim Butcher. This is book 1 in the Dresden Files. I talked about it last week when I had started reading it. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad over here on my bookshelf I have books 2 through 9, which is nice. I'm not going to push myself to like binge them. I'm just going to read 1 a month and just keep going until I get caught up with the series. For other fantasy, I read Breaking the Lore by Andy Redsmith. This is an arc I got from NetGalley, and it is not an ebook. It was an audio arc. And so I didn't know until I joined NetGalley that you could get either one, audio or ebook. So anyway, this one, I gave it 3.5 stars. It was too long, I thought. It was very long. The concept of it, I didn't know what to expect. It says an Inspector Paris mystery, so I was expecting more of a like straightforward mystery, and this is more of a fantasy mystery. As soon as the book starts, they get called to a dead body, and when they get there, it's a tiny fairy body. So thus begins him realizing that fairies do exist and a lot more other things exist, and he may or may not have to travel to this other plane where they were living through the portal. Anyway, It was a really good concept. Like, I really liked the idea of it. I thought the middle was way too long, and the ending was unexpected. I'm not going to call it bad, but it was just not the ending that I thought we were going to get. Now, one good thing about this was that it was really funny. Like, I felt all the way through it. I laughed out loud multiple times. Not like, really loud laughing, but like a chuckle. It was funny, so I liked it. Now, the last fantasy that I read is a graphic novel, Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat, Volume 1, by Leth. This was part of my NPR challenge, reading the comics, and I did not enjoy this. I don't like graphic novels that are superheroes, especially ones that are in the early Marvel vein. Like, I've read a few of those early Marvel comics, and the jokes are so cheesy. Like, it feels like it was definitely written by someone who loves dad jokes and puns. And that is exactly what this was. I mean, I understand that it was written from that point of view for that reason, and that's just not something that appeals to me. I was annoyed with Patsy. Like, she seemed like a very immature person, and she had a lot of powers. Okay, since I'm being interrupted by dogs, this is a great time to introduce you to the new puppy. She's not a puppy, actually. She's 7 years old. She just looks like a puppy because she's so tiny. But her name is Skeeter, which I would not have picked for a name, but I didn't get to name her. She's already 7. But anyway, there she is. She's super cute. Django doesn't know how he feels about her yet. Come here, Ben. Okay, here they are together. Django likes her, but he doesn't like her when she's sitting in my lap. But generally, they play well together, and they sleep a lot because they're both old. Django is 10, and Skeeter, like I said, is 7. So, there she is. Bye-bye. Now they're going to go take a nap like they do. Okay, now back to the books. For the thriller, I only read one. I decided to call this a thriller. Sorry, I got back in the middle again. It is Billy Summers by Stephen King. I probably would have just listed it as fiction, but it does have aspects of a thriller in it. But I did see it listed as horror, and I was like, no, I really don't think that it's horror. So I'm listing it as a thriller. And it is the first time that I have pre-ordered a Stephen King book and waited for it to come out and then read it the day that it came out. I mean, I didn't finish it that day. I waited a couple of days. I mean, it took me a couple of days to read it, but it was so good. And it's the first one of his that I've read that he's written in the last 20 years, because I'm reading all of his old stuff. And so it was just really nice to read something recent that he had written, and I still liked it just as much as I like the rest of them. His character development is still phenomenal. I love the characters, especially in this one. It's called Billy Summers, so he is the main character, but even the characters around him were so well done, and I feel like this is two separate books. We have the first half, which is just a straight up assassin story with some background on Billy, and then we have the second half of the book, which I feel is more of Billy finding out. Okay, so the assassin story at the beginning is the one last job trope that he has, which he keeps referencing the whole time, and then the second half is Billy deciding who he's going to be after the one last job. What is his life going to look like after he's done being an assassin, and what kind of person does he want to be, and what kind of legacy thing does he want to pass down. And in the middle of all that is intrigue and revenge and murder and, of course, assassination. So it was so good. I really liked it a lot. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, which means on Goodreads it says 5 stars. Because I always round up. If I give something a half, on Goodreads you can't give a half, so I always round up. Okay, for the horror books that I read, First, I read 2 novellas, Chew, volumes 2 and 3. I'm not going to talk about them a lot. I already talked about a lot in Chew, volume 1. We're living in a world where chicken is illegal because the government has convinced people that the bird flu is like real and they can't eat chicken. So there's all of these like artificial chicken things popping up, and in one of these we have an island who has made a fruit that tastes like chicken, and so they're selling it, and there's all kind of stuff that have to do with that. Our agent Tony Chu, same one from the beginning, has to go. He doesn't have to go to the island, he goes to the island, and because he tastes the thing and he's like, oh wait, this is a fruit actually, and it's grown on this island, and this is where we have to go. And so he goes there. And then in volume 3, it's called Just Desserts, and this one is he finally like is in a relationship. I was gonna say he finally has a girlfriend, but he's in a relationship, and they're kind of dealing with his job seems to be 24/7, and so he's having to figure out how he can do things with her and at the same time do his job, but not sacrifice the new relationship that he has. And in the middle of that, in book 1, we find out things about his partner at the FDA, and in book 3, his partner from the FDA kind of comes back, and he is with his partner from the police force. This sounds very confusing, so I'm just going to stop right there and say that it is hilarious and gross, and everything in all 3 volumes so far has just been the best. And so I've already got on hold for volumes 4 and 5 from my library. I probably won't get them since I'm going out of town, so it might be a couple more weeks before I get to another Chew, but that's it. The last horror that I read and the last book for the week is The Mist by Stephen King. I'm going to put this down so I can just pop the picture up here. But this is, Stephen King considers this to be a novella, is what it says on the list when you're reading like the books that you should read, which is funny because it's 230 pages. But anyway, I read it in one day. I had been doing a lot of driving, so I listened to most of it on audio, and then I got the physical copy that I had here, and I listened to the rest of it as I read along here. I really enjoyed this. Now, I've not seen this movie. It clearly says it's a motion picture, but I've not seen the movie, and now my husband is going to be doing the Dark Tower read-along, the same reading order that I'm doing. And so as he finishes the books and gets caught up with me, we're going to watch any movies or TV shows or anything that go along with whatever we're reading. And so that's how it's going to go. I said, hey, if you want to come on my channel and talk about the Dark Tower books, and he was like, no, that's okay. So anyway, we won't hear from him, but I'll tell you his opinion when we talk about it. Okay, that's it. That is what I read this week. Now, books that I am reading, I've kind of gone back to the way I used to read books, where I read a lot of books at one time, and I'm not sure which way I like better, because in June, I switched and started focusing on one book only, and I would just read that one book. Well, that doesn't work if I have a book on audio and a book like a physical or Kindle book, because I can't read the Kindle book all the time, but I can read the audio book more often. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, let me just tell you what I'm reading. The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This is the first Law trilogy, and this is the first book in the first Law trilogy. I'm almost finished with it, so that means I'm going to talk about it next time. I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm reading Finding Langston. I have an actual physical copy of this from my library by Lisa Klein Ransom. This is a middle grade book about a boy named Langston. His mom passes away. They live in Alabama. His mom dies, and he and his dad move to Chicago. And he discovers the poet, Langston Hughes. And so that's kind of what this is about. Then I'm reading, I hate to even put this up here, I'm reading The Patience of a Dead Man. I promise that this bookmark will be further along the next time I have an update. I'm taking it with me tonight when I go out of town, and I'm taking it with me this week while I'm gone. I know I'm only 23 pages in, but I thought that it was going to be scary, and I've been putting it off for that reason, and it's not too bad. So, plus, I feel like with a physical copy of a book, I can kind of squint my eyes and look at it a little bit. like covering your eyes when you watch a movie. That's what I feel like I can do with this book. So anyway, I don't know why I'm being such a chicken about this book. Okay, I'm finishing this book. I'm going to give myself 2 weeks. I'm finishing this book in 2 weeks. Okay, and I'm reading, my next graphic novel is Gris Grimley's Frankenstein. I got this from the library. Now this is straight up, it says assembled from the original text by Mary Shelley. This is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And this guy just did all of these illustrations. It looks really cool. And I'm pretty far in this one, I think. I am 63 pages in. I'm on chapter 7. But I've read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, so I already know what's happening. There's nothing in here that's surprising to me. So I'm mostly just in it for the artwork, which I really like right so far. Oh, the other thing I'm reading on my Kindle, I'm reading Delaney's Desert Chic by Brenda Jackson. This is actually one of those old Harlequins from the either like late 80s or early 90s. It's one of Brenda Jackson's first novels. And this was on my TBR from July. This is a carryover from July, and I'm going to finish it this week or maybe next week, but it's on my Kindle, so it will go with me as we travel. And I'm continuing slowly through The Beautiful Country in the Middle Kingdom by John Pomfret. This is another one of the NPR reads. Oh, I didn't say. This is one of my NPR graphic novel reads. The Beautiful Country in the Middle Kingdom is the States We're In read that I got on the NPR list. So that's it. I'm going to finish up the books that I'm reading, most of them. The only 2 new books that I'm planning to start once I finish these are Not for Nothing by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the next book in his read through. I'm reading his entire catalog. And In the Hand of the Goddess by Tamara Pierce, which is the second Alana book as I'm reading through her entire catalog. So that's everything that's coming up. That's everything that I'm reading and that I have read this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.